Hello and welcome to this podcast. My name is Michael Heinzmann. I'm 21 years old, a student of film and media production and the owner of this channel. Today we will discuss the film industry, what it's like to work in it, and how to best start out with our industry insider here. Let's begin with an introduction. Who are you and what's your current job?
Hello, my name is Marcel. I'm 25 years old and currently I'm working as a grip in the grip department. In German it would be called Kamerabühne, because there's a bit of a difference between the German version of the grip department and the American grip department.
What jobs have you done before?
To be honest, I haven't worked in anything other than the film industry. I was studying at university, then suddenly I ended up in the film industry, and since the beginning of 2019, I've been in various positions inside the film industry. So I've been a lighting assistant. I began as a intern with an internship, like a lot of people do, and I've been a runner, which would be, you're like a personal assistant for all the crew members and the actors. And well, I've been in a group department, so it's like I've seen 3 different departments and how they work, how they're structured, and what's your kind of things what you do in that 3 like different departments.
So what made you want to choose this career in film? How did it all start? Was it a coincidence or a passion of yours?
That's a good question. To be honest, I never thought about working in the film industry. To be honest, I didn't even know what kind of jobs there are in the film industry. As a kid, I was like, when I watched a movie, I thought about how cool or how interesting would it be to be there, to be behind the scenes, and to get to know how a movie is done. But I never thought I would end up actually doing that. I was more of a person. In school, I always thought I would go just in administration, sit behind the desk all day long. That was my idea of work. And so, as I said, I was studying at university. Somehow, it didn't fit to me, and I ended it after a few semesters of being there, and then I had nothing to do, and I was like, looking for something to do, and a friend of mine, he was working at Ari Rentals at the time, in the camera department, and I simply asked him, hit him up in his DMs and wrote him. I haven't talked to him like years before that. And I see it, write him a text, and shoot him a text, and I was like, hey, I want to work in that. I want to see how it works. And he just says like, hey, whatever. I have a contact of a guy who's looking for people for an internship. Just write him an email saying that you want to do it. Just apply for it. And that's what I did. Not knowing how the film industry works, I was writing an email and put my CV on it and a lot of things which are not necessary for the film industry, but it was totally formally written, which, afterwards. I knew it wasn't necessary, but I thought it would be. So I write him this email. Like an hour later, he calls me. He's like, yeah, I'm that person. And totally informal. I was like, yeah, you wrote me an email. Well, if you want to, we'll start next week. Do you have any accommodation here in Munich? Because I wasn't living in Munich at that time. I was like, yeah, I can live in a spare room at a friend's house. No problem with that. So perfect. Then I'll see you Monday in a week at, I was like 8 a.m. at this and this address. That's how I ended up in the film industry. It's a total coincidence. And from that on, well, it just went one project after another.
I mean, contacts are of the highest importance in this industry. So that's how you got your foot in the door, right?
Exactly. It's like, if you don't have a contact, it's so hard to get in here. It's, contacts are very important. So, to be honest, if you're an outsider and you want to come in and you don't have any contacts, it's really, really hard. Best thing you could do, maybe if you see a film set, go there, try to find someone who's responsible or who can give you a contact of someone. Or maybe go to the rentals. Rentals are always a good choice. If you want to enter and you don't have any contacts, you can go to a rental. Because obviously you don't buy all the equipment, because it's expensive. Productions don't have that kind of money. But rentals have. They buy it and rent it out.
Yeah, you told me this dolly here is like 90,000 euros?
About 80 to 90,000. So yeah, because of that, you can't just go there and buy whatever you want and all the equipment and stuff. No, you rent it, but going to a rental and ask them, hey, do you have an internship? It's the best to start with an internship, always. Most of them will say, hey, sure, we have a position for you, you can work with us. And the good thing is, you can choose between lighting, grip, and camera department and work in these 3 different areas. And also another good thing is, if you start in a rental, you know all the names for the equipment. You don't come to a set like I did, and you have no clue about anything. If you start a rental, well, you go there and you know, well, that's a dolly, that's a jib arm, that's the head. You just know it because you have to do work with it every day, and you have to organize it, clean it, arrange it for the production that come to pick it up, and if they deliver it again, you have to pick it up from them, order it back in your shelves, in your warehouses, so you know how to use it, what's the names, and what it does. It's a good way to enter when you come to the industry with a lot of knowledge. And obviously there are a lot of production that come there and people from the production that come there, and so you get the contacts. You just go there, talk to them, and suddenly you're at some kind of film set. It's actually if you go that way, it could be easy for you.
So if it's easy to get an internship, would you say there are like certain expectations of what knowledge or a school degree you have to have?
To be honest, school doesn't matter at all. Degrees, if you have a bachelor, if you don't have one, no one cares, to be honest. On set, no one cares. Could be that in the office, if you want to work in the office of a movie, sure, maybe it matters more, but here on set, it doesn't make any difference. I know people who have master degrees and all that kind of things that work here, like others that don't even studied. So it doesn't really matter if you're having a degree or not. What's important is, of course, you should always be like focused on what you do, and you should pretty fast, or you should look at if you like the kind of work we do on set, because it's not like your normal 9 to 5 office job. It's a bit different, I would say. It could be longer, way longer. You could work endless hours a day, and sometimes you just work a few hours, and well, as I said, other days you have like sometimes 15, 16 hours days. It could happen. It's not that common to have that long days, but it could happen.
Are you happy with your job and the pay? Would you recommend working in this industry?
So yeah, very I'm very happy in my job, in my position right now. I love what I do. If not, to be honest, I wouldn't be here anymore. And about the payment, yeah, I would say the payment is fair. Fair enough to be. It's fair because, like for the lighting equip department, there are like group of interests that take care of how much we're getting paid, and they always every year they have a conversation with the productions and so on, and they look that at least those two departments get enough money. But I can't say that about other departments because they don't have it, and they're getting paid less. It's like some departments get more, some departments get less. It's like in other companies as well. And we're in the film industry, you're getting paid per day. Like if you're signing your contract, you're having your payment per day. You don't get the money until at the end of the month. Obviously, you work for the month and you get a payment at the end of the month. But in your contract, it states how much you get per day or per week. You never talk about how much you get per month, because some production don't even go for a whole month, so it would be kind of unnecessary to talk about months. And other production, obviously, yeah, they can go for a few months, maybe a year even or more. Then you could talk about payments for the year or payments for month. But normally, it's more like talking about payments per year or per day or per week.
What talents or abilities would you call important to do the job you do?
Well, if you're talking about my job specifically or about like the technical part of the production on set, which would be lighting and grip, well, also camera, but camera it's not included in what I'm gonna say now. You have to be able to carry a lot of weight, because as I told you earlier, this thing is heavy, and a lot of things that we use daily, they're just heavy. Like the weights on the jib arm, each one is 16 kilos, and if you just come around with one each time, you should maybe work a bit more on what you're able to lift, do a bit workout, or maybe you're just better in another department, because obviously there are a lot of departments, and you could go in the production department and help the floor managers here, which keep the set running, or the PAs, which help the director. And a lot of different jobs. Which talents or you should bring? Well, I think in whatever department you're gonna work at the end, it's so important to be open-minded, because you're gonna meet a lot of different people with a lot of different ideas and thoughts, obviously. And what else is, you're working so close together. Like in the production I'm working right now currently, it's 36 days of shooting. And well, you could say, well, but if I'm in an office, I'm also have to work close with my colleagues, and I have colleagues that I don't like. Yeah, but you don't work as close as we do. It's a very, very close set, and you get to know the people quite well, and because of that, you should always be very open-minded and friendly, and you should have a good hand with other people. You just should be a bit of talkative and Know your way around a lot when there's a lot of people. And also, don't get frustrated if someone critiques you. Sometimes it's just because they're stressed, and you should never take it personally. That's one of the first things I learned in the film industry is if someone says something like in a really bad manner to you, it's probably because they're stressed, not because they're mad at you. Just because they're stressed. It's a stressful situation. We have a lot of stressful situations, and so it doesn't mean it, or the person doesn't really mean what he or she said. It's more like out of the situation, so you shouldn't take it personally. That's also something you should really get used to.
What about the camera department? What are important abilities there?
Well, it depends which role you're gonna take. Of course, you have the operator or the DOP, where you should be able to move the camera and to have a good image at the end. Well, that should be learned, or you can study it, or you can go by learning by doing, and work your way up. Because you will start as a video assistant, which is, you just move around the cables. You have to take care of the cables. You have to move around the different monitors so that the director can see what the camera is doing, and if he or she is satisfied with the image. Then you have the focus puller, which he does what the name says. He pulls the focus. He sits in front of his monitor, has his little focus wheel, and he just pulls the focus to the place where the camera and the director wants it to be. And then you have the second assistant, which is he or she just takes care of all the other things which have to do with the camera. Like if you want to change the lens, it's the job for the second. If you like the clap at the beginning or the end of a take, it's the job of the second. So if you want to do that, you should come with some experience in a camera. So you should know how to do it, but also to get into the camera department, the easiest way is to do an internship, and they show you how to do it, so you don't have to have knowledge, or you be like a video operator, but for this one you also should have a bit of a knowledge how BNC cables work, how transmission of a video works, so you can't come in there with no knowledge at all. So the bad thing would be to do an internship so that they show you how to do it. Start in a camera rental, and then you can learn how to do it there, and then afterwards come to the set and you already know it. But either way, you have to start as a video operator in most cases, because you don't know the work on set. You just know the equipment if you come from a rental.
What's your dream job title? Do you have ambitions or plans to work in another position or move up the ranks even?
Well, right now I already moved up. I started as a crib assistant, and now I'm the crib, and I have my own assistant now. But there's always a possibility to move up as to the job of a camera operator. I would never want to do like a DOP, which is also the person who decides how the lighting is gonna be. So I would more like be a camera operator or a Steadicam operator. I love to do Steadicam, and I'm training right now to become better. I have a own little Steadicam, but I have a own Steadicam at home. It's an older model, but I have one, and I'm trying out some stuff and trying to become better, to be honest. Maybe in future I can be booked as a Steadicam operator or even as a camera operator. Knowing all that stuff in grip is also a great advantage, because I can combine both of the things, and maybe it's also be a gimbal operator, because a lot of cameramans, they don't like to do gimbal work or Steadicam work, and they love if there's someone who can do it, and so they will give you the camera with the gimbal and say, yeah, just go with it, you frame the image, because they don't like to do it. Or what is also a possibility is that I'm the gimbal operator, so I'll be there holding the gimbal, moving around, and the cameraman is working with wheels and rotating the camera, like pan and tilt.
Mm-hmm.
So he controls it, the pan and the tilt, and I'm just there with the gimbal in my hands, moving around the actors and doing what he says. And most of the times, if you work like this, you have an intercom, and you can talk while shooting with, like, the cameraman will talk to you while during the shooting. You just move accordingly to what he says, and he's just moving the camera the way he wants it to be. It's also a possibility. So there are a few possibilities which, maybe I can do in the future. But it would be, to be honest, it would be cool. It would be a great opportunity if I one day can call myself a camera operator. But right now, I'm quite satisfied with being being the gripper for the set. It just makes, it's a great job. I love what I do, so I'm happy with that.
Do you have any gripes about the industry that bother you?
Well, there are a few things that bother me. One thing is that it could be that you don't know when the next project is gonna start. So just sitting there waiting for something to happen, because you just got off a project and now you're enjoying your free time, but you want to work again. But it could happen that there are just no new offers on the market, so you can't work. So you're sitting at home waiting. It can happen. That's something that's it's not that good. It's you're a freelancer. You don't always have work. And another thing is that the hours are long. Sometimes very long, but we are normally, if you work for a production, your contract is always for 10 hours a day, 50 hours a week. We don't have contracts like 40 hours a week. It's not common for us. We always work for 10 hours a day. That's our minimum, what we have to do without getting paid overtime. Only after the 10 hours, we're getting paid overtime for 11, 12, and so on. And sometimes it can happen that you work 11 hours, 12 hours, even sometimes 16 hours, which I already had. Some projects are worse, some projects are better, like the project I'm working currently. We don't have that long days. Like, it's mostly like 9 to 10 hours that we work a day in this project. But the last one I did was like, it was common that the average, to be honest, was about 11 hour 30 a day. And we had days with, as I told you, 16 hours plus, but we never had a day under 10 hours. So the two things, in short, is you don't always know when you're gonna have your next project, and the hours are sometimes very long, and you can work on weekends as well. Saturday, Sunday, sometimes you work on it. Of course, you're getting paid extra for that, but it can happen.
So how do you manage to work 16 hours without ending the working day?
Well, you don't manage it, you just do it. I don't know how you do it, but I think it's that the people that work in the industry love what they do. If not, you couldn't put up with 16 hours a day. And sometimes we're crazy enough to drive to other cities to even continue our work day. But there's no secret to how to do it. It's just like you love what you do and you do it. And suddenly you're working 16 hours without actually knowing that you worked 16 hours. It just happens.
So do you come back at night and fall in your bed, or?
Yeah, of course. If you work, like, even now I'm working like 9 to 10 hours, it's hard work. You're coming home, you're exhausted, you're going to bed, and that's it. But if you work like 10-hour plus, of course, you're coming home and you're dead. You just fall in your bed, and the next day when your alarm goes off, you're just tired, of course. But fortunate for us, there are some laws which they have to follow. So they can't just work 16 hours and then start the next day like at 7 a.m. It doesn't work. So they have to follow the law, and if you work that long or even up over 10 hours or over 12 hours, they have to give you some time to rest.
What amount of time is that typically?
The law states that working for 10 hours a day, after that you get 11 hours of rest. And if you work over 12 hours, you get 12 hours of rest. And then there's also the weekends, which you only can work on one weekend per month. You can work like your resting time can only be 48 hours, and for the other 3 it has to be 48 plus 11 hours, so that you're getting enough resting time because it's the law. The production has to follow the law. They can't make some excuses for evading the laws. So that's our luck. Because I know in the United States it's not that common. They don't have that strict laws like in Germany. So we can call ourselves lucky to have the laws.
What things about the industry do you like?
Oh, that's an easy one. The people, the work. The best thing I would say is that you can see what you're doing. I have my own monitor, and if you work with the dolly and I move around with the dolly, I can see in the moment what I'm doing and what's gonna end up being in the movie. Also, I can see it afterwards. If the movie comes out you can see it on TV, you can see it in cinemas, in the streaming platforms, depending on what kind of job you did. Like being a grip, you were also being a part of how the image is gonna look at the end. Together with the cameraman, you make the image. And after when you did it, you were there doing it together with the cameraman. You chose how it's gonna be, and then a few million people sometimes come to see what you did. I think that's quite an honor.
I guess it's also a moment of pride when you see your name in the credits.
Yeah, sure.
I guess you always wait around after the movie to see your name.
Well, yeah. But I have to say, I did that before I started working in the industry. I always was one of the last ones to leave the cinema because I wanted to see all the people that worked in the movie. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't like a hint of what I'm gonna do in the future, but I never left before the credits passed. I don't know why.
I guess most viewers just stand up and leave, but if they actually paid attention and didn't just view it as a text that's scrolling by, I mean, they would realize that a movie production is a really big...
Yeah, it's something big.
big
well,
thing.
A friend of mine once said, well, why were there credits at the end of a movie? Because the people that work in the production of a car don't write their names on the car. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
I mean, on expensive cars they do.
Yeah, sure. But talking about normal cars, it's like, yeah, but the difference there is also we're just getting together for this one production. few people, 40, 50, 60 peoples or more, if it's bigger, like hundreds of people get together to just produce this one specific movie or series. And afterwards, everyone goes their way. I think that's why there are the credits at the end of a movie, to somehow showcase who worked on it, so that afterwards you can remember who worked on it.
I mean, it's also
it's
probably important to have that in your portfolio. And
for us, it's important to have it in the portfolio, and as you said it earlier, it has to do something with pride. Obviously, you're proud about what you did.
I've also heard about producers looking at a movie, and if they like it, they look at the credits and see who worked on it, and then they start hiring people.
Of course, if they watch a movie and they think, hey, the camera operator was very good. I loved the pictures he was taking. So, what's he gonna do?
I mean, that's also how actresses and actors
He calls up
cast.
the cameraman and says, I loved your movie. I want to hire you for my movie. And of course, he goes to the casting and says, I saw a movie with that actor. I want to have that actor, because I think he's gonna make a great impression in my movie. That's how it works. And maybe it's also why there are the credits, so to find the connections.
What would you say was the best and worst thing that happened at work?
Oh, that's hard to say, to be honest. What was the best and worst thing? Maybe the worst thing that happened to me was an accident with a camera car that hit me at about 50 kilometers per hour. But it's all healed up, so I had nothing. It wasn't that bad, to be honest. I was just hit in a bad way, and I went to the hospital that night. And
Did you have any bad injuries?
No, it was in a night shooting, and I went back after the hospital to the set to continue working. I could have stayed at home, but I just didn't want to go home, because I knew if I'm going home, I'm just gonna sit there and be like, well, it hurts, and so I went back to work and just continued, and well, it went away because I wasn't thinking about it.
On that film grind.
Yeah, kind of. The best thing, well, I don't know. Maybe it's kitsch, but I met my girlfriend through the film industry. Yeah, I would say that would be the best thing that happened on set, but it's not something that has to do with the film industry. So it's just coincidence that we met on the movie set.
What were your job positions?
She was a runner, like an intern at the time, and I was a lighting equip assistant. Yeah. Now she has she's in set deck, and well, I'm still in the equipment department, just ranked up.
I guess you could call that a cinematic romance.
You could.
What I also heard is the movie industry is like a small village where everybody knows each other.
Yeah, kinda. It's the more you work in it, the longer you work in it. Yeah, you always meet the same people. Kinda. You go there as an extra because they need someone else, additional person. For some department, you come to the set and you're like, hey, yo, I know you and I know you and we know each other and we it's, yeah, every time you know more people. And in the beginning, we always getting a list of all the people that are going to be with us on the production and also what position. And at the beginning of a production, I always use the list and go through it, and I'm like, oh, know this person, I know this person, and yeah. So you could say it's like a big family.
I mean, I guess it goes both ways. So if you do a good job, then your number gets passed around, your phone number,
of course.
And you get more offers. But if you screw up a job, then
then
the offers could stop coming in.
That's the same thing. So I would say it's a bad thing to lose your phone number. If you lose the phone number, you're probably gonna miss out a lot of jobs. And of course, if you do a great job, the people will come to you. You don't have to look after jobs. If you're doing a bad job, yeah, it gets around. The word gets around very quickly, and the people stop calling you. It also depends on what you messed up. If you messed up big, yeah, well, then they will stop calling you immediately. If it was just like a bad thing or whatever, well, but they will remember it, of course. If you did great, they know you did great and you come back and they love it. But if you did a bad thing or bad job, well, they also will remember it and they won't call again.
What would be like a big screw up, for example?
Well, maybe you think about just breaking the camera or breaking a light or something like that. But that's not a big screw up because it's gonna happen sometimes. It happens. No one is yeah. Let's phrase it like that. If it happened while using the equipment normally and how it should be used, no one is gonna be mad at you. Maybe at the moment, but afterwards no one's gonna be mad at you. But if it happens because you didn't use it like you should, then it could be that someone is not gonna call you again. Or another thing is if you just don't show up on time, or you're on set but we all connected, you call him, you call the person, but and he or she doesn't react, doesn't come, doesn't bring what you asked. That could be something that stays in the mind of the people. And they will know, well, I won't call you again because you just didn't fit to my working style. The people should be able to rely on you. You should stay true to your word. Of course, if we start at 8, you should be there before 8 so that you can start at 8 o'clock in the morning, for example. But I think that's normal for most of the jobs. You should be on time. But also if it has to be quick. Like you're shooting and then you have to rearrange all the things. It doesn't take normally it doesn't take longer than 5 to 10 minutes. If we're first looking in that direction to the actor, and afterwards you change it, and then we look at that direction. The change shouldn't take normally longer than 5 to 15 minutes. We're talking about moving the camera, moving all the lights, moving the equipment, and people sometimes, and like the monitors and all the stuff to the other side. That, all in all, shouldn't be longer than 5 to 15 minutes. And if you don't show up there to help, it gives a bad impression.
What was your favorite project to be a part of so far?
Well, the last one I did, I can't tell the name. It's not out yet. You can't watch it. But what I can say, it's gonna be on Sky TV. It's an action series, and I think it's gonna be great. I hope so, to be honest. It was a amazing team, amazing actors. We had so much fun with the actors. Amazing locations, amazing stunts. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately I can't tell you the name.
Do you actually like most of the projects you work on? Do you have like the freedom to choose?
Right now I have to be honest the freedom to choose what I do. Like for this period right now, I had 3 different people that were calling me for 3 totally different projects. Well, this time I choose the one that was closest to my home. So I choose the one that was in Munich. But yeah, you can have the ability to choose if you're doing a good job. You can have the ability to choose the job, the movie you're gonna make. You can choose it.
Are you an avid moviegoer or serious binge watcher yourself? What do you like personally?
That's a good question, to be honest. I personally, I hate going to the cinema. I don't like watching movies.
Why?
I don't know. I have no idea. But it's funny because a lot of people in the film industry don't like to watch movies. Maybe because they know how much effort it takes to shoot it. Also, before starting in the industry, I didn't go that often to the cinema. I don't know why. I never thought about it, to be honest, until I got asked this question when I came here from someone younger than myself. I think it was an intern, and he asked me if I started because I like watching movies. And I was like, well, to be honest, I don't even watch it. I don't watch what I do. I don't watch my own work. I watch it in the moment on my monitor while shooting, but rarely that I go home and be like, yeah, if it comes out, I'm gonna watch it. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm not.
Well, for me personally, I can say by knowing how much work it is and also doing the work myself on my own projects makes me appreciate movies even more. And it's also interesting for me to analyze the movie while watching it and trying to think about how a shot was made and maybe how the story was written and what went into it.
Yeah, I prefer the behind the scenes. I prefer to watch behind the scenes. But yeah, let's say like that. I watch movies, of course, and I have Netflix, so but I'm not someone who loves to binge watch or go to the cinema that often to the movies. I don't know why. But if you're talking about shooting movies, I love a good action story. Yeah, it's so much more effort it takes to move the camera accordingly. So you have a lot to do in an action movie.
I mean, it's probably a very exciting set to work on when you have cars exploding and car chases.
It's so much fun if you're there for a car crash. You just like what you don't see normally. You go there just to shoot a scene where two cars crash into each other, and you're just there and watch it. Like go behind with the camera and you help the cameraman to get perfect shot of it. Yeah, it's nice to see. Or explosions, weapons that are being shot at something, or things that are blown up. It's so much fun.
I mean, getting the permits for that stuff is probably a nightmare.
Well, I don't know. I don't work in the office. So yeah, our location manager. It probably takes a while to get the permits for all of that. But of course, if we work with weapons and have explosions and all of that stuff, there are people there that are specified on that.
Yeah, you always need experts.
You always need the experts. It doesn't work without experts.
I mean, safety is probably also number one.
Yeah. You don't just randomly use weapons and all of things. You always have an expert there.
There are movies where they shot car chases without a permit and on public streets.
Well, yes, some movies, some scenes are shot without permits. Always. Also in Germany. It's normal. Because for some things you just don't get a permit. So you better be sorry than ask. It's easier. Because if you ask before, they will look that someone that day you said to them is going to be there and look if you're not going to do it without a permit. But if you don't say anything and just go there and shoot and then someone comes up to you and asks what you're doing, it's easier to say sorry. Sometimes.
Can you name examples for what kind of things are shot without a permit?
Sometimes certain streets, certain areas, it's hard to get a permit for. Sometimes it's the location combined with what you're gonna do. Sometimes action scenes and whatever. That could be that the city would say, yeah, we are not gonna allow you to do that here. You can do it somewhere else, but not at that place. So yeah, we also had a car chase shot in one movie with a permit, but the permit was changed a few times because they were like, yeah, you can shoot in this street. Then they changed it, say, no, we change our minds, you can't. But you can use this one. Then again, you can't. But you can choose this one, use this one for the shot. So there's a lot of planning involved. So sometimes it happens that you just go there, shoot, and run away.
Let's touch on the current state of film and media. In my opinion, mainstream media is currently stagnating and we see a lot of franchise milking and commercialization. Prequels, sequels, and remakes of popular movies and shows that lack the creativity and nuance of the original material. But what about you?
Well, I don't know, to be honest, if there are so many prequels, sequels, remakes. But of course, there are a lot of remakes.
I mean, probably more from Hollywood and here.
To be honest, exactly. It's more like Hollywood that shoots them. Well, as a freelancer standpoint, I would say it's good. I don't care what I'm shooting. It's money. But of course, as a viewpoint of the person who watches it, as a watcher, I don't know if it's always a bad thing. Because talking about remakes, you probably saw the one, the Nothing New on the West Front or something like that. I don't know the English title of it. And the first one was made in the 30s. The second one came, I think it was in the 80s, 90s. And now came a new remake. To be honest, I think it fits in our current time. Because it's about war, obviously, the First World War. And I think it fits in our current time to just showcase how cruel the war is. That no one wants it. You shouldn't go to a war. I think that's good. I loved how it was made. I loved the images. It was a good movie. It's brutal. But it's a good movie. So I don't know. I don't have a general opinion about if it's good or bad to make that much remakes, sequels, prequels. Sometimes I don't know. It's good. I'm looking at Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, for example. I liked it. I thought it was a good prequel and also like a sequel because we saw what was before and what was after.
Yeah, Breaking Bad is definitely once in a decade
Yeah,
show,
of course.
and Better Call Saul also is very good, yeah.
But I don't really have a general opinion about if it's good or bad to do it.
I mean, probably the most negative example I could think of right now is Disney and how they buy up franchises.
Yeah, okay, that kind of thing is talking. Yeah, if you're gonna touch on this topic, of course, I don't. It's bad that there's someone like Disney going to other companies and just buying up the movies or the license for it and just remaking it. Remaking the remake of their own movies
Or
again
making,
and again and again. Of
or
course,
making bad sequels.
it gets boring, but well, looking at an insider from the industry, for us it's good because we're making money with it. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, you have work. That's the most important
work.
thing.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Another possibly slightly controversial topic. There's a stereotype about German films and series being of low quality. What do you think?
It's true. A lot of those typical series that we are watching, and also some movies that made it even to the cinema from Germany, I don't know why, but they're just so bad. They have bad acting, bad lighting, bad camera movements. There's so many things that play together, like on set and also in the post production, that just don't make it look that good. If you look at American movies, Hollywood movies, I don't know. Of course, they have way more money. That's probably a thing because they have made way more money. And they just have another look to it. Well, talking about the money topic, and that's what I think is the big problem in Germany. Because the standard series and movies, they don't get much money to work with. And they always have, every time they shoot, they get less shooting days, they have less money to work with, so they always have to arrange it in another way to use the money effectively.
But I think if you look at indie movies or like recent movies like Parasite, for example, that are relatively low budget but still provide a certain quality and creativity, I don't think it's only the money
aspect. It's the part
aspect.
about the creativity. Because oftentimes, like in series, I think the problem is the way they think about how to shoot it is just so straight. they don't go off the straights anymore. Once in the beginning they were thinking about it. There was the creative process of how the show is going to look like and all of things. But if the show is already running for like 10 years, 20 years, the look that we have today is 10, 20 years old. It didn't change. And I think that's the problem. And also with the movies. We're shooting sequences for movies that weren't good when they streamed the first time, and now they're making a sequel to it. And you think, why? Bad actors? Bad movie? The other thing is, you said indie movies. Indie movies, they don't have much money. That's right. But the people that are shooting indie movies, they have a lot of creativity. And they don't just want to deliver a product. Like, go there, shoot it, go home. They think about it, they change it, they work on it all the time. That's the difference.
And why do you think is that mindset so prevalent here?
It's hard to say. Maybe it's because some people are like, we did it that way for the past few years, so why change it? Never change a running system, you know? I think that's the problem. And also, it goes far. Like, it's not the people on set, it's not the directors, it's more like the people in the productions, or even further, the people that hired the production to make it. Like, let's talk about the normal, like, for ZDF, ARD, stuff like that. It's just they hire production and say, hey, can you shoot it? The production goes there, says, we need to make it. That's the money they gave us. Let's shoot it. And you go there, shoot it, go home. You don't have all of the process that you have in an indie movie, because you already have a way how it's gonna be, how it's shot every time, so you don't change it because you don't change the running system. I think that's the big problem in Germany.
As a last question before we finish today's podcast, where do you think is the industry heading? Is it a better future or a worse one?
It's hard to say. I've seen the future. I've worked in the so-called hyperbole, like, the movie Mandalorian, or the series, more like, I think. That was shot in the LED studios. In Germany, there are two. One of my last projects, we shot in this, and we used it. It's quite an amazing feature to have. But I don't know if you're a sci-fi movie like Star Wars or Mandalorian, if you can call it Star Wars, maybe this kind of thing, stuff you can shoot in those LED studios without any problems, because you would shoot it in front of green screen anyways. But shooting like a normal movie that like shows the reality of people, so I think like real life stories, it's hard to do it only with LED studios. It could be an amazing feature to create worlds or rooms that wouldn't exist in the real world like that, in the way we want it to be, or the creator wants it to be, the director wants it to be. But I think you have this kind of possibility, you still need to go out there and shoot in the real world, in real apartments, real streets, because it's just easier, or in studios like this one, or sometimes they're just empty warehouses where the production built complete apartments in it, which are open on the top, so there's an easy way to shoot in it, because sometimes if you have a movie that shoots a lot in one specific apartment, it's easier and cheaper to build it in a warehouse than to rent the apartment for real, because apartment rent is expensive. On top comes all the furniture and stuff, and you have to get the people to the set or every day, and you have to arrange for parking and stuff. And if you have an empty warehouse, it often comes with a lot of space around it to park trucks and to put up a base and for costume and mask and all this stuff. So I think that's still gonna be like that, and we'll use like the regular studios, the studios we build, the LED studios in the real world to shoot. So I think it's gonna be easier sometimes, but I think it won't change that dramatically. Let's phrase it like that. The way we work is not gonna change that dramatically. Like my position, my job is not gonna change that much. But if you are in that like LED studio, the way the camera works, that's way different than outside. So I think it's gonna be interesting what comes to us in the future, but it's not gonna be bad.
All right, I would like to thank you for taking the time to participate in my podcast, giving us an insight into the world of film production and answering my questions. Do you have any last words?
Well, whoever wants to come into the film industry, we have like other industries as well, but we're in need of people, like a lot of people. We don't have enough people coming up the ranks. We don't have enough people that even find their ways into the industry, because it's not portrayed like other jobs at job centers or like in the schools. There's nobody's there talking about how you can work in the film industry. It's not common. They don't do it. So
I mean, I guess
come work with us. It's a hard job. It's a hard life, but you get good money and you meet a lot of interesting and sympathetic, friendly people that love what they do.
I mean, I guess it's also like a societal thing, and with artists in general. I mean,
Yeah.
if you say I want to do art or movies or want to be a musician or painter, I mean, most people just come and say, yeah, you won't make it anywhere.
The same thing I think is with actors.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's some one thing maybe that I wanted to talk about is because many people are interested in a thing like how is it to work with specific actors on set. But if we are on set, we don't think about what kind of actor he is and what he's done in his past. No, he's just a colleague. He's just another team member who works with us. He's not someone special for us. You just work with them. They're just your colleagues. Nothing else. We're just here. They were bought and brought in by the production. And also were we. For one specific thing. To shoot the movie. And our job is to finish shooting this movie. Nothing else. So when someone is like, oh, you were shooting with that actor. I'm like, yeah. It's just another colleague. Nothing special. Of course, they get a special treatment. They have a trailer. They get paid better or more than we are. But on set, while working with them, there's no difference.
I mean, I guess there are certain actors who are
Oh,
fairly
of course. There are
hard to
certain
work with.
actors that are hard to work with and certain actors that are, yeah, like easygoing. But, yeah, even the ones that are more like difficult to work with, even those on set, they're just colleagues. And they know it. Sometimes, like, to the production management on set, they could be a bit more difficult. But to us, like, working on the cameras and lighting, they never make a scene. Because they know, whatever they do, we just don't care. Because they're colleagues. That's something interesting. Because last production I had we had an intern, not we had an intern, and she was like, "Oh my god, went to one of our main actors. Oh my god, I saw all of your movies. I love your work. I love what you're doing. Can we take pictures?" Well, he wasn't comfortable with that, because he's not there because we are fans. He's there because we are working on the same project. So it's different if you meet them in the outside of the job and if you meet inside the job.
I guess it's also unprofessional to.
Of course, it's totally unprofessional. There's nothing if at the end of a project go to them and say, "Hey, I like your work. It would be awesome if you could give me an autograph." Or, "My friend loves your work. Could I just become if you could sign the paper or the picture, whatever." they don't mind. They don't mind doing that. But they don't like if someone comes there and is like all this like fan girl boy ish. They don't like it.
Hyperventilating and screaming.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing that it's totally unprofessional because they're colleagues.
Okay, so do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.